Morning, everyone. Daniel here again. Um, Another episode of Long Way Round Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cook, and we've got a guest here, Chris Brown. He's got some really interesting projects that he's doing. He's building dome structures for customers across the country, and yeah, it's really amazing what he's doing. So we thought we'd get him on and have a little bit of a little chat about his projects and how it all works. And yeah, potentially if anyone's interested in getting a dome structure, Chris would be the man because he's been in the industry for basically his whole life, and it's been a bit of a journey. So yeah, introduce yourself, Chris, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Chris Brown. I'm the CEO of Dome Shells Australia, and our speciality is in thin concrete shell structures, is the engineering term, or more particularly dome-shaped structures. Um, yeah, and when we build them for people all around Australia, our market is quite small, but we're talking earlier about, maybe for me to talk about the journey a bit of getting here because it's been huge. I'm a builder in New South Wales, and I've been a builder in New Zealand and in Australia. And back in about 2000, I came across dome structures, and I got to stay in a multi-dome home in Christchurch in New Zealand for a few nights. And while I was there, I was completely fascinated about how did they build this? And my imagination went off, and I had a profound dream, which really influenced me the whole time. Because from that minute, I felt compelled to kind of reverse engineer this or pursue how to build dome-shaped structures. Long story short, my business partner and I at the time, we initially commissioned the Queensland University of Technology to work with us. And we did a huge amount of testing in our backyard in the garage of panels and then in the university. And we eventually built a full-scale 8-meter dome, which they tested. And they certified that through the building code, but that was the first time that we hit that great milestone.
Mm.
Look, since then, and that was in the year 2000, 2001. And since then, we've built a number of domes, particularly in New South Wales and Queensland, with that initial technology. And over the years, it's changed quite a lot. We've evolved it, and we've made it what we believe is the most simple or most efficient, effective way of building dome-shaped structures. And over the years, we've run workshops, and we teach people how to do it in live hands-on workshops where about 7 or 8 students will build a 3-meter dome in a week.
Mm.
Um, and whereas previously we used to build the projects ourselves, now we have projects in 3 different states, and we just can't take on actually building them ourselves logistically. It's not possible. So what we focus on now is teaching and training people, and I've developed a couple of manuals.
Mm.
One is very basic. It goes right back to kind of primitive construction where you can use bamboo and chicken wire and sand and cement, and you can build extremely strong, thin concrete shell structures that way.
Yep.
And in Lombok, there's a whole resort called the Mentigi Bay Resort built like that withstood a 7.1 earthquake there in 2018. Not a crack on it.
Oh wow.
Anyway,
That just before you go on, but they built them from your course and your knowledge, or it's just similar knowledge.
no, in actual fact, my involvement in that project completely set off a light bulb in me
Mm.
because it was so effective. However, using bamboo in most Western countries it, it would be it's too difficult to try and get that through. We're not used to it. We don't have an industry or history of using bamboo in construction. So
Yep.
anyway, I found another material,
Yep.
which is a basalt fiber reinforcing bar, basalt fiber rebar.
Yeah. Right.
Um, Now the difficulty with compound curve shapes is bending, reinforcing, and steel is clumsy and difficult and hard to work with, whereas the basalt rebar it works perfectly. It's very flexible. It's twice the tensile strength of steel.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't rust. And
Mm.
so it's got a lot of great benefits, and is very fast for us to use it. So that's what we use. And then Having found that material, we can use the same system as the primitive bamboo method,
Mm,
where it's possible to build a dome-shaped structure without even a mold. That's very labor intensive, but we do have a couple of manuals about how to do that, and we have a couple of video courses on our website as well.
yeah, right. So
Um,
they were using the bamboo as Rio. Is that what you're saying? Like the inner?
in Asia, bamboo has been used as Rio and still is quite a bit.
Wow.
Um, and I remember a long time ago when I was traveling through India, seeing it. They were reinforcing a suspended slab, and it shocked me at the time as a builder.
Mm,
Um, However, bamboo can get attacked by insects and bugs, and if it gets wet, it can rot. So
that makes
uh,
sense.
we rely on the bamboo to fabricate up the shape and the cage of the structure,
Yep.
and then for the reinforcing matrix, the 3 layers of mesh do that. So even if the bamboo got destroyed in some way, they're still extremely strong.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about how did you pronounce it? Something, is it bolt, the Rio that you use? Tell us how does that come about, and where is that made? How does that come about?
Basalt fiber is made in a similar way to glass fiber, but it's cleaner. It doesn't require any chemicals. And what it is, it's a fiber that's extruded from the molten basalt rock. It's the same
Okay.
kind of rock you see paving all the roads. It's the most common rock in the world, that blue chip.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like your, what do they call it? Like your can't remember the name of it now, but yeah, your blue metal or whatever they call
Blue
it.
metal, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
So that's basalt rock, and that's melted
Oh,
down,
yeah,
and
right.
they extrude a fiber from that, and then from that fiber, they can manufacture virtually anything that fiberglass is made into, like fabrics and mats and meshes and chopped fiber. And also, it's pultruded into a bar that
Mm,
it's black, it looks exactly like steel, but it's a quarter of the weight
wow.
and twice the tensile
Are they
strength. So
making that in Australia, or is that made overseas somewhere?
it's not made in Australia yet. The machine to
Mm,
be able to do that is very expensive and consumes a lot of electricity, a lot of power. So, no, the market isn't big enough
yep.
yet. We do supply other companies with in the concrete industry anyway,
Mm,
with reinforcing products and basalt, and it's growing.
wow. So your Rio, is it mesh or is it just single bars when you're doing your domes?
They are single bars usually. And for example, where in steel you might need to use a 12 millimeter bar, in the basalt fiber, we can use an 8 millimeter bar.
Yeah, right. And what about the spacings between, like obviously you're doing layers, is it what's the spaces like?
The spacing is similar to steel, although we generally go a little bit closer where we would put a grid over a dome shape at 150 millimeters
Okay.
horizontally and vertically.
Yeah, cool. So someone basically goes around and gets the dome shape and then comes around, does the layers and ties it all up, sort of thing.
That's right. We put all the verticals up first, and then we go around with the hoops and all the way to the top, and you'll see a grid uh, encompassing the dome and all the attachments and the transitions, and because they have connections where the multi-dome houses.
Mm. And what about the door? How does the door work? Because obviously, normally a door, it has to be, straight and plumb. And if it's a round door with a curve at the top, that would be a little bit tricky, I'd imagine.
Where we have not all our projects have the curves at the top. Sometimes they're just standard doors and windows going in, and we cast those frames when we're shotcreting, or they can be framed up in an opening in timber. There's a
Okay.
number of ways that can be done, and then particularly usually if they are radius windows or curved, then we cast those shapes into the window opening during construction.
Yeah, I gotcha. So normally it's straight up until high enough for the door, and
Yeah.
and then the dome starts a bit higher. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And so you've been doing how many years you've been doing the domes for now? How long ago was that when you stayed in the motel in Christchurch.
Well, that was back in the year 2000. So, in the middle of that, there've been periods where I haven't had the money to carry on, and I've stopped for a while. I'm a builder, so there's always plenty of work.
Mm,
Um, but virtually everything I've done over the past 20 years or so has gone back into the business and just developing the product.
yep.
In between, because we learned so much about concrete technology working with the university. We got two Australian Research Council grants that funded two PhD students to do their PhD on our technology and our material systems.
Yeah, right.
And so we started a business called Quattro Design, and there we manufactured lightweight or thin-skinned concrete, high quality
Mm,
concrete products like facades and big planters and complex things where there required complex molds and factory production. We did
mm,
that for quite a few years. So it hasn't always been consistent. It's been a bit jump start, stop and start, and then we got flooded. The whole factory got flooded twice. We got knocked back a few times with a few things. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Have you, I know you've done a few builds, obviously, but has anyone really gone to town with your system and that show like Architectural Designs Australia and anything like that? Have you done any really big, fancy projects like, $15 million builds or anything like that? Or has it more been
Not quite that big
oh,
yet, but we have done one, and Grand Design did a doco on it that you can see now. It's on Fox TV. I think it's a
oh,
pay channel now. A while ago, it was aired on New Zealand television for free, and it
mm,
was once here in Australia too.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
so that project was completed a few years ago now, and that's
Wow.
at a place called Coffee Camp, which is just out of Nimbin in
Oh,
northern
okay.
New
Yeah,
South
right.
Wales. Yeah.
Well, those shows, they always have really beautiful homes. So I imagine it was a really beautiful project. So that's pretty impressive.
It's a spectacular house, and it's perfect for Grand Design because it was quite over the top in terms of the amount of design, custom design elements that
Mm.
went in there to make it what it is, and it's
Yeah,
amazing.
they're
Yeah.
normally very nice fit outs. So that would be a very proud achievement. I'd imagine having your building showcased on that show. That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so, but clients like that, they're more and more, they're few and far between. As I mentioned, our market is quite small,
Yeah.
but it's growing, and particularly in bushfire-prone areas, because our material system is exceeds even what the Australian bushfire code requires for even flame zone. So they're completely indestructible, rarely by fire.
Mm.
Could build a bonfire on top of them and it wouldn't hurt them, and they're highly resilient against virtually anything: earthquake, cyclone, termites, flooding,
Yeah. So
and that.
I asked you a couple of these questions on the phone the other day, but I'll ask again just because some of our listeners might be interested. Is it mainly designed, are you doing them, building them like in a warehouse somewhere and then you're shipping them to site, or have you transferring a mold, or how's the sort of process? How does that sort of work?
Except for the very small ones, they're built on site because they're expensive to shift by truck and transport.
Yep.
So we build the mold system over the slab, and the mold system can comprise of we've got one 8 meter diameter fiberglass mold, so it's a rigid mold,
Yep.
and we use airforms for molds, and then also sometimes for elements and connections and window openings, we fabricate up plywood
Oh yeah.
mold
Yep.
systems, and then they all kind of get joined together, and and we shotcrete the whole mold element as one monolithic shell. It's all done at once.
Yeah, gotcha. And I know you're saying some of the molds you use are like big blow up balloon type structure. So say
Yeah.
if a customer came to you today and they said, I want to have a bigger one that you didn't have in stock, like how long would it take to get that? You'd obviously order it from somewhere and it would probably take 6 months or something to get, or what would the process be of that?
No, it's much faster than that. So we can fabricate an airfoil mold pretty well any shape that you can imagine, or that you can, well, any shape that you can commit to a 3D.
Yeah, right.
Um, because the all the parts of the mold are all CNC cut and electrically welded, and so they can be virtually any shape. And if it was a really big complex one, it might take about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, right. And are you doing that in-house in Australia, or is that overseas somewhere?
We do both. We have a fabricator in Australia and one overseas. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you're talking about the air mold that's fabricated here, and you can do that in about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah,
Generally, depends on how what's going through the factory at the time, but
gotcha.
usually, yeah.
Yeah, righto, cool. And the molds on the slab, has it got starter bars and things like that as well from the slab or not?
That's right. Yeah. So the mold is fixed down onto the slab, so exposing the edge, which is the footing for the shell.
Mm,
And at that point, there are starters coming out,
yep.
and the starters connect to the vertical rods that of the reinforcing that go around.
Yeah, gotcha. And would it normally just be like normal steel starter bars and then your basalt coming up from there?
That's right. We
Yeah.
do. We use in some cases we do use basalt rebar starters, but most of the time actually the starters are steel.
Yeah, gotcha. Because I
Yeah.
imagine most times, like, there'd be maybe another builder or another contractor that you'd be working in with, and this slab would potentially already be there and already done by the time you guys get to site. Is that sort of right? Or
That's the best solution is that we're working with a builder and many owner builders who like to run the projects and be involved themselves. We seem to attract people like that.
yep,
And so, yes, if the slab is there, we'll usually go, we can go, we consult and we train as much as they need. So, we start off with like a pre-construction meeting, just go through things. There's a lot of particular know-how. It's not rocket science, but like anything that's different
mm,
and nothing straight, there are a lot of tricks that we've learned of how to make things faster. So we impart that knowledge
yep,
in the training and get them going, and we'll be there to set up the mold system and get them going with the reinforcing. And in a multi-dome project, we find that if we train a crew on doing one, they're good to go then for they've got it.
yeah, yeah. And has there been any areas that you've been able to sort of get one customer and then one or two of his neighbours have sort of done it as well, sort of caught on a bit with that fire zone stuff and anything like that, or it hasn't really happened like that?
Uh, Almost. It's starting to happen a bit now
Mm,
because people are seeing projects around.
mm,
This and the one in Victoria we're doing at the moment, that's quite visible from the road. Um, Most of our projects, though, are not really visible from anywhere anymore, because
Have you done any like art galleries or, coffee shops or any of those types of things where it's like a little bit of a quirky situation and they want that, a little bit of a different design where it is visible, like where they are in the public? Have you done any like, yeah, because I imagine it'd be great for an art gallery or something.
oh well, we could. We've done like a little domes for little chapels and Greek
Oh, yeah.
Orthodox churches, and we've done a big dome on a mosque.
Oh, yeah.
We
Wow.
we built it's called the Kala Chakra World Peace Stupa. It's an 11-meter tall Buddhist stupa that was its inception was blessed by the Dalai Lama,
Wow.
apparently.
Yeah, right.
Um, and it was a very complex thing to do because it's very intricate in design, and the mold system took a long time to make. And although it looks like a huge solid structure, it's only thin shell of 15 millimeters thick, and inside the, there are pictures of that on our website, and how we went about building it was very interesting. We worked with a group of monks
Oh,
who did the design and the measurements. We had to follow a particular measurement system, which
yep.
is quite different to.
Oh, wow. So was that in Asia somewhere or where was that one?
No, it's here. It's in Byron Bay at a place called Crystal Castle. It's a
Oh,
tourist
yeah. Yeah, I've been there.
venue.
Oh,
Mm.
you've got a dome up there, have you?
No, that's that. Well, they've got a couple of dome offices up there, but the what I'm talking about is the World Peace Stupa, which is sits out there on its own. It's a big kind of a tower and
Wow.
has these prayer wheels around the base, so you go around and
Oh yeah, yeah, right. What measurement system are they using? Was it something that's just a interesting system from Asia or something? Like because you're saying it was a obviously it wasn't in mils, so you were trying to figure it all out. That sounds a bit confusing.
I think it's Tibetan, and their unit is equal to 81 millimeters
Oh wow. So each 81 millimeters is a certain it must
as
be
a unit.
a
Yeah,
handprint or something. So
I don't know.
like, no?
I'm not sure where it came from, but that's their whatever their unit is equals about 81 millimeters of in
Oh wow.
millimeters. Yeah.
And I mean, you've already got a complex design, and then you're trying to do it in 81 mils, so it would have been a bit tricky. But I mean, it would have been a good adventure for you guys, and I mean, any customer is a good customer. Like not every customer, but it would have been a very interesting project, I'd imagine.
It was a very interesting project working with the monks. That was very interesting. They're amazing and artistically amazing, and a lot of fun actually working with them.
Yeah, yeah, would have been. Have you done any overseas at all? Have you done any back over home in New Zealand or any over like in America or anything like that? Or
No, we have come close because we've got a lot of interest in America, and particularly those states that get wild weather, like the southern states for hurricanes, also bushfire.
Hmm.
Um, there are other projects overseas that we've consulted to,
Yep,
um, and also, yes, and one in New Zealand, and other projects here that other builders do that where we consult. We just bring our expertise in there and
yep.
help them, either with could be the design.
Hmm.
So we, in house we can do architectural design.
Hmm.
We provide engineering, structural design for any of our designs,
Yeah, right.
and we can provide airforms and the basalt
Yep.
reinforcing. And so we're kind of a one-stop shop for dome builders.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you've got engineers in house and architects in house, all that. You've got it all in house, have you?
We well, they're independent, but who work with us and who are used to working and designing our thing, because a lot of designers find it a bit tricky to get their head around it and get their computer set up, and
Yeah, makes sense.
especially in 3D curved architecture is a bit more complicated. So it requires a different way to think, and because dome dome spaces have a very, to me, very powerful and distinct energy
Mm,
inside. It's a very calm, kind of good feeling energy,
mm.
and it's a natural feeling. And people are always quite amazed when they walk into a big dome that are not used to it or never done it before. They walk through the door and they immediately look up, and there's always a look of surprise
Yeah.
and on people's faces. And um, the energy side of it has fascinated me. So I've done a bit of research there, and I discovered there was some work done by a Russian scientist on the energies within pyramids and domes, and he developed a way to measure it.
Wow.
And it kind of makes sense or correlates with my experience of how audio waves perform inside a dome.
Mm.
Any audio sound is projected down to the center point of the diameter line. And at that point, with audio waves, there's absolutely no kind of interference or wave cancellation or phase cancellation or anything like that. So if you put your head at that point, you get perfect sound.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And within a dome, you get different sounds. So as a recording studio, you could put mics anywhere and get very different sounds. But I
Mm.
think somehow that illustrates the concentration of energy that's within a dome. It does something like that because it's a calming space to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine it would be a great place for meditation and prayer and those types of things.
Yeah.
So when we were talking on the phone the other day, you were saying you can literally bury the domes and it can be a bit of a like a bunker as well. And there's a big thing with doomsday preppers. I don't know about in Australia, but it's a big thing in the States. Has has anyone buried one of your domes or through working with you guys as well? Or
We did one ourselves. Was on a friend's property who's a sculptor,
oh yeah,
and she wanted a fire bunker. And
yep.
so this was experimental way back when we were developing the system we have now, and we did it with bamboo.
Oh wow, yep.
But being a sculptor, she called me up one day and she said, "I've dug the hole. I've dug the side of the bank where I want to put it. Can you come over?" So I went there. She wouldn't let me use a tape measure. It was just all free form.
Oh wow.
Anyway, it's about three-quarters covered with in earth, and it's been there now for many years.
Mm.
And it's a sound solid as a rock. It doesn't leak. It doesn't. There's no mold or anything like that in there. It's a quite a unique, beautiful space.
Would that be
Uh,
like bedroom type size or?
it's a small. It's very small, really.
Okay, yeah.
It's it's about uh, 8 or 9 square meters. Um, but yeah, there are people in Australia who are interested in doing that. We haven't done it yet, but I think it's coming up soon that we will be, because
Mm.
we're working with 2 or 3 people at the moment that would like to do that.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd have to have some sort of other engineering as well for that once you start burying them, because there'd be some sort of liabilities and things like that, wouldn't there? Or
Excuse me. Well, our engineer will calculate the reinforcing of the structure, depending on the load that was going over it. So depending on the soil type that's there and
mm,
how much earth would be covering it and
mm,
what that load would mean.
yeah,
Thing is though, with the dome shape, as much load as you put down over the top of it, it, it it's kind of its nature, its inherent strength holds it together. So you can put enormous load. We
mm,
tested once just a 3 meter diameter dome,
mm,
which only had walls of 70 millimeters thick, and we put 12 tons on top of it.
wow.
And you couldn't do that with, you know, anything, any house.
No, it would go through. No. Well, 12 tons is is basically a single HR rigid truck sort of thing. So
Yeah,
pretty heavy, yeah. Yeah, okay. And probably even more than that, really, probably with a couple of blocks, couple of concrete blocks on it as well. But yeah,
yeah.
right. Okay. So that's cool. So you guys, so at the moment you guys are basically you're still doing a few projects yourself, but you're really more getting into the working with people, helping other owner builders, other builders, really to be able to showcase your skills and your methods, and so that's sort of where you guys are at now with what you are doing.
Yeah, I guess that, for me, that was my original vision, to develop the most efficient system, the simplest system, and I think we're pretty well there now.
Mm,
Um, and then to help other people do it and distribute it around the world. And that's, we do that really by training and with our training material, and there's more coming. So there's a video course coming now out or being worked on that'll be for professional builders that will cover things in more detail and more professional way
yep.
than just the DIY. So yeah, that's I'd like to see other people come and take it and do amazing things with it. I'm
So, like, if I wanted to start, like, if I was a builder and I wanted to use your technology, like, how does the pricing structure sort of work? Like, is that like how do you go about, like, is it just a consultancy fee and then you're happy for them to use it because they're working in with you, or and because they're gonna buy the products off you as well? It's sort of like you're getting a bit of the whole project out of it, or how does that sort of work?
okay. So yeah, if you're a licensed builder and you want to build our stuff, you could do it as under license by using our name, our brand,
Mm,
and then that would be we provide them all the designs, structural design, and the materials and technical assistance for them to be successful.
yep. And you would just charge like some sort of fee of the overall project, or?
Yeah, quite a small fee. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. No, that's really good. Well, what we'll do is we'll leave a link, for your website, and we'll chuck some photos up just so everyone can see, what you guys have been doing. Is there anything else that you'd like to sort of say before we close it off?
Thank you for having me here. It's I could talk domes all day, and the journey too, because that's been tough. We're here now, I feel like in a very different place. We've got a lot of interest from around Australia and
Mm,
around the world, and my commitment really is to help people do it themselves.
yeah. No, I can see that, and I think it's a great thing. I think it's really cool. I think yeah, I can definitely see why people would want to do it. Like if you had I was going to say 100 acres, but it wouldn't have to be 100 acres. Even 10-acre property and a few domes, it would be a really, really peaceful. And if you had a nice dam and that, it would be quite beautiful, I think. So yeah, no, that's good. All right, no worries, Chris. We'll let you go and we'll put the link up and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Daniel. Cheers.
Cheers, Chris. Bye bye.